Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Living in Markham. And today we've got a great guest. We have Ezza, who is the leader and founder of the Zalik Academy, and really inspiring young woman who's going to share some insights on entrepreneurism, on inspiring people, and really the idea, I think, in our conversations is about community and how to identify, establish community. And one thing that I love about your energy is that's elevating the community. And so maybe for anyone watching or listening, tell us a little bit about you. So who is Ezza?
My name is Ezza, and I'm an early childhood educator. I'm a Master's of Teaching OISD alumni from University of Toronto, UFT,
Ooh.
let's go! And TMU as well, shout out.
Well, that's a lot of letters.
Lots of letters, right? Exactly. Yeah. So I'm just going to condense that a little bit. So being part of the community, born and raised in Scarborough. I'm a Scarborough girl.
Amazing.
Come from a large family, and an immigrant family. My dad immigrated here when he was 18 years old, went to Woburn Collegiate. Wow. And as soon as he landed, the first thing that his elder brother, my Taibu, said is, listen, we have to provide for the family. So coming from an immigrant family, one of the things that my parents always taught us is giving back to the community and the very country that has given us so much, especially escaping through religious persecution in Pakistan. Canada became home, right? And one of my dad's friends actually told me this recently, that when I was born, I was the first child to my dad and my parents, and they were so proud of having a girl, and my dad strapped me on, and he would volunteer anywhere and everywhere, wherever they needed him. Whether it was blood drives, my dad is O negative, so wherever they needed him, he was there. Whether someone needed a ride, whether someone needed, food, whether someone needed a house to stay. There was actually a woman who reached out to me after seeing me on Family Feud Canada. My name is Zahoor, our family name, which you know as well. Yeah. We're known by. She reached out to me and said, listen, are you by any chance Amr Zahoor's daughter? I said, yes, I am. And she said, your dad helped my dad 28 years ago when we first came to Canada. And today I was asking her, following up with her today, her dad is a pilot, in Air Canada. And just to goes to show the values and beliefs that my family, my parents, it takes a village to raise children, right? Yeah. So it's not just my parents, it's my aunts, my uncles, my older cousins that have paved the way for myself. So everything that I do is to honor them. It is through their legacy that I do what I do.
Oh, that's awesome. And what you're doing is really creating legacy, in chatting with you and watching the work that you do. You help people that are maybe in a difficult situation, or people that are having a challenge. You bring them in and support them and elevate them.
I've been in the field of education for the last 10 years, and being a teacher was my dream. I started when I was 3 years old, and my first students were my grandparents. I would have all four of them, my dadima, dadabu, nanima, nanabu, sit in front of me, even my younger cousins as well. And I would make worksheets inspired by my teachers, my ESL teachers. Shout out to them because they taught me English, and that helped me a lot too. And just seeing the way that it helped my family, learn English. And I was the mitigator. Like, I was the one that was learning at school and then coming home and teaching my family, and they were learning through me, especially my mom. She's learned a lot. She did complete her, her bachelor's in, Pakistan as well. But, there's a lot of things that I was teaching her, and my parents as well, like making the phone calls for the parents, as
filtering,
an immigrant. Exactly. Filter for the parents. Like, Ami, you have to do it like this. Ami, like translating. So that gave me a passion. Like, if I'm helping out my parents, I have to help out the community. Like, the moms automatically, when they saw the way I was helping my parents, would start reaching out to us. So I had aunties like calling my parents saying, can Ezza help me? Can Zoha, my younger sister, can she help me with my school application, even though I was in grade 12 helping elderly people. So again, it just automatically came, my academy, in a sense where coming from such a large family and a community, when we started Zalik Academy, Zahoor and Malik, those are the two names. Zahoor, for anyone that knows the Zahoor family all around the world, we're widely known for community service, along with Malik. So my husband's family as well, my father-in-law, his brothers, they have left their legacy as well in terms of, giving back to the community. So
it's amazing. What a great thing to be known for.
Exactly. When two iconic families come together, my father-in-law actually thought of the hashtag. When we were thinking, okay, what's going to be a symbolism of these two families coming together? It was Zalik, Zahoor, Zalik, so Malik, right?
That's awesome.
And that was our wedding hashtag. And my husband and I, when we met, and you know, again, our grandparents, we go back, like our grandparents were friends when they immigrated to Scarborough. I actually have a picture after my husband's grandfather passed away. I was helping to clean up his belongings. And one thing I always wished was my dad's dad and his dad's dad, my husband's dad's dad, to meet. But I never knew they already knew each other. And there's actually a picture. So when I was cleaning out his belongings, I found a picture of, you know, both of our grandparents with my husband and his little cousin. So, and it's something
You
that
think about that. You think about two people who got together.
Exactly.
And 2 generations later,
exactly,
here you are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I felt like it's meant to be.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I totally believe in fate. I believe in destiny. And, you know, when people come up to us like from the community and say, wait, Zahoor and Malik, like their families, kids got married, like that itself is so iconic.
It's like Romeo and Juliet.
It's like Romeo, exactly, 100%. And again, so when my husband and I always talked, and we got married very young. We got married at 21. We knew this was it.
That's awesome.
And this is what we're going to honor. And we always talked about entrepreneurship. My husband started when he was 14 years old, and he saw my drive. I always told him, listen, I'm going to go on to do my master's. I'm going to do my PhD. And he was always so supportive. He said, listen, whatever you want to do, I'm here with you, and we're going to stand together. So as we embarked marriage, I was completing my, you know, undergrad. He was.
So you got married while in university,
exactly.
in undergrad. That's unbelievable.
He was at Centennial studying, you know, at the time over there. And I was in, you know, Ryerson. And I told him, listen, Ryerson at the time. And I told him, listen, if you want to get married to me, my mom loves education.
Wow.
So even though he's set, he has this family business that he's taking care of, like Popeyes.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have to go. He went to post-secondary just to win over my parents.
Oh,
so
that's a commitment.
It's a commitment, exactly. Yeah. So he went on to doing his bachelor's and doing global business management at Toronto Metropolitan University. And yeah, when we started this institution, it came with our wedding. We want to give back, service again, and we started off with one family in Bradford that reached out to us. It's actually a really funny story. So I graduated from University of Toronto, the Masters of Teaching program, and at the time, getting an LTO, it took so long. But I had to make ends meet. I had to provide for my family.
Sure.
Listen, I have to provide for my sisters, my parents, and I didn't have time to wait for an LTO and, you know, going through the private school route. So I was working like 4 jobs.
Wow.
And I am a hustler for people that know me. Like I was a nanny, I was an ECE, I was doing a part-time teaching job, and I was teaching public speaking at the same time. And my husband always saw me. He's like, listen, why don't you do your own thing? And I said, I don't know what that means, because I'm so rooted in this idea of culture. It's like, oh, you're a teacher, you do 9 to 5. That's it. That's what the ideal goal for any teacher is when you're in, you know, Masters of Teaching.
Streamlined path.
It's a streamlined path, exactly, right? So every time when I met my husband, and he would always tell me, like, Ezza, do your own thing. Like, your work is so impressive. You're getting recognized. Like, my thesis secured first place at University of Toronto, and I've attained so many scholarships, and so many people that told me that I'm going to do something, I'm going to achieve something, right? But I just didn't see that. How am I going to do it? Right? I knew that I was going to do it, but I didn't know how to go about it.
And what age was that? So
this was at like 20.
So at 20, you knew you had something in you.
Oh, I knew since I was a kid.
You knew. You always knew.
Yes.
And that energy comes through. You just didn't know how to focus it.
Exactly. Like I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, because coming from a family where medical was, you know, my entire family, my uncles, my dad, my aunts, everybody was in the pharmaceutical route, the medical route. So didn't really have anybody in business specifically to kind of have that mentor until my husband came along. So when I met my husband and he started guiding me, and I'm a fast learner, right? So I was watching him like in Popeyes and what he was doing and how he was operating, and I was kind of like listening and learning, right? So when I was helping like someone else that graduated from the master's program, so she started her own business, and I kind of saw the way she did it, and I was like, wait, listen, I could do this. And one thing about me is I like to watch how people do it and do it bigger and better, right? And kind of learn of what to do, but what not to do, most importantly, so I can, you know, perfect my craft. Exactly, right? And that exactly 100%. So I remember during the time Popeye sandwich came out when I graduated the Masters of Teaching program, and my husband's like, listen, you know, again, we need to pay our bills. We have investment properties that we invested in. We're doing a lot of projects as well. So he said, why don't you help us out at Popeyes a little bit? You know, just volunteer and kind of get to know, you know, we need extra hands on deck, because during the time the Popeye sandwich came out, we had long lines of people standing outside of our Popeyes.
Wow.
You know, till the end, and people were like antsy, and it's fast food service, and they say, you know, on average in Popeyes is 3 minutes you need to serve your clients.
Wow.
Right? So again, I was there helping out with the sandwiches, but one thing I was doing as well is learning. right? I was watching how, customer service is key. Why are people coming back? And I got my first tip without even getting my first tip. I'm a people's person, right? So this one lady's like, listen, you just made my day. Here's $20.
Wow.
And my husband's just watching me and he's like, again, remember, 3-minute timeline. You're keeping up a hold of people. But one thing that kept me apart and helped the business was community service, right? Talking to people and connecting with them on a deeper level and just helping them feel seen and heard, right? Things that I do as a teacher anyways, right? One thing as a teacher I've noticed during my practicums as well, and that set me apart was, my self to understand people and get to know them. There was a time when I was at, the 519, I was working at a family daycare. It's a drop-in center, and one of the women's parents that we were serving, she was just sitting in the corner and no one ever approached her. No one ever asked her how she's doing. And I was the one that was like, hey, let me go ask her because it's part of our culture. It's how we're taught. And it's who we are as teachers. We are serving humankind. And I went up to her and I just genuinely asked her, how's your day? How's everything going? Listen, if you ever need anything, let me know. Like, I'm here. And the next day she told me she's going through postpartum depression. She's been going through so much and I saved her life.
Wow.
Right? And when young girls, aside from that, also started reaching out to me in my community, seeing the work that Muhammad and I were doing, they started asking us questions like, whether it's about marriage, whether it's about, consulting, whether it's about business, whether it's about family.
They're seeing you as a resource.
They saw me as a resource. Exactly. And it was all anonymous. The amount of work that we have done, my husband and I, just coaching and mentoring our community just to kind of give them the support and just the reassurance that you're going to be okay. And you know what, as a community, we are here for you. A lot of times people come with fear that, my problem is just my problem. And it's hard for them to, have people that are going to listen to them and that genuinely are going to be there for them. So me and my husband became those people. So, for example, whether it comes to marriage, we come from such a big community, people are calling us like, hey, do you know this person? Like, is this guy a good guy? Or is this, what about this family? Even aunties of all ages are calling my husband and I from all across Canada and
looking for your advice.
Looking for advice. And so Zalik Academy, to come back to your question, again, it's our family legacy. People know us already, our parents. So we're like, one thing about our parents, they have such a legacy, but nobody knows about it on such a global level, except for the people in our community, because they never amplified their stories. The social media wasn't for them. They never had those platforms or those resources, right? So we wanted to give our parents a chance to kind of shine their light and also shine the light of others.
Well, those opportunities weren't there. If you go back, even 20 years ago, aside from
weren't.
being in a newspaper or maybe if you were on TV, there was no way to get, a message across. And that's what's really cool about social media is that you can take your message and you can put it in front of people that want to hear or see it. And that may attract more people, right?
Exactly. And one thing about my dad specifically, I'm a strong daddy's girl, and I see the work that my dad has done, whether it's working with Jim Carrey, whether it's working with all the political parties, Selma Zayed, MPP, Mitzi Hunter. She was actually the one who spoke at our wedding and did a speech at our wedding about families coming together. 2 amazing families. So shout out to Mitzi if you're watching this, and even Selma Auntie, taking us to the Parliament building. Going at 16, she took us all the kids on the bus, and my dad was there.
So cool.
And we went and we saw the experiences firsthand. And I remember sitting in that chair. And my dad said, listen, Ezza, one day you're going to become the prime minister. And I was like, Baba, me? And he's like, and my uncle too. He's like, yeah, Ezza, you are meant to change the world.
Wow.
So hearing this from, the very men in my life, whereas a lot of the girls in my community were always told from the men in their lives, you're going to get married, you are just going to have kids, and that's your purpose. The men in my life were like, no.
Wow.
You are going to become the prime minister. You are going to change the world.
Yeah.
You are a voice for those that are voiceless. And that's what stemmed Zalik Academy.
Wow, that's awesome. And think about the impact you're making on the young people in your life now, where you're giving them that positive reinforcement. Maybe they're coming from an environment where that's not there at all.
Exactly.
I know just recently you took a group of young kids to the Raptors game.
I did.
And just hanging out with them, getting them there, next to Superfan. I saw some pictures online. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And just that accessibility of this may not have been something that was attainable for them.
Yeah.
And giving a positive, being a positive inspiration, but also giving them a message of you're worth something. You kind of alluded to what Oprah says, do you see me? Do you hear me? Do I matter?
Yeah.
And really being able to do that for someone who maybe you do that, because I can tell that you're outward that way. Maybe you do it for 30 people in a week, make that connection, but maybe for that person, that's the one time in their life they've heard it.
That's exactly what it is.
You know what I mean?
And I always tell myself and my students this every day. Listen, Miss Malik is that one teacher that is going to be with you through every step, every phase of life. I'm always here. And I realize in this journey of just teaching not only my students, it's become a ripple effect. So now my students are giving back, and even my employees. So some of my former employees, they have now opened up their own academies, educational institutions.
Wow.
So shout out to Mariam. You know, she started an account as well, teaching with Mariam, and she's doing
that's
amazing
awesome.
work. And even my other former employee, she's also started her own academy as well. So again, Muhammad and I are the type of people where we support regardless, and we want to see you rise, and we rise in seeing other people rise.
For sure.
That is how we've been brought
You live in a
raised.
world of abundance, right?
Exactly. So it's never a competition amongst us. It's always like, hey, we all eat together, we all break bread together. You grow, we all grow, and we all change, because at the end of the day, they're impacting someone else's life that we are not able to reach. But again, if that life is being impacted in a positive way, then we have done our due diligence in helping them and shaping them and getting there. So,
And you create the legacy.
Exactly.
You know? A few generations from now, people are going to be talking about you and you and your husband and your family and the work that they do, right?
Yes, exactly. It's so funny because now we're known as Zalik Academy everywhere we go. Like, there was this one lady, I went to an event recently, my husband and I, we just went to go support. It was a kids bazaar. And we went, and my husband and I, as soon as we entered, they were the first stall. It was a button bar. That's the name of the, child's business. And we love supporting young entrepreneurs.
That's awesome.
And the mom's like, are you Ezza from Zalik Academy by any chance? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And she's like, I'm a big fan of yours. You look more beautiful in person.
That's sweet.
My husband and I were just standing there and we're like, wait, people actually recognize us. Like, again, I've been on front page of newspapers since I was a kid. And, being on the front line because of my dad and his community service, like, that itself is a different feeling. But to be recognized for the legacy of your parents and the work that you do and being a teacher, it's a whole different ballgame.
That's awesome.
And again, it's
so I guess the cool thing too is, and I mean, you're still so young, but like the impact that you'll make on the lives of the people that you touch now, when you magnify that over 20 years or even over 40 years, because you got so much runway in front of you,
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's like, that's really super cool. Like, if we judge based on what we plant, the seeds we plant, I mean, it doesn't look like a very productive day, but wait 40 years and you have a forest, right?
Yeah.
And that's really cool that you're inspiring. And then from there, the trees make their own, seeds, and then they plant their own forest on their own. Like, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah. And those are my students. Like, my students are those seeds, and I can't wait to see them grow. And it's not even just the students, it's their families, it's their parents, it's their grandparents. When you create an institution that gives hope to so many lives each and every day, when a mother texts you and said, listen, Miss Malik, you're the teacher that has brought the best in my child. I have children who are 9 years old, self-harming themselves, going through a lot of thoughts, and, being that one teacher that believes in them and they genuinely want to come to for any sort of support in that regard, whether it's emotional support, academic support, just being that sense of hope gives me a purpose to wake up every single day.
Awesome.
And one of my students' mom recently said this to me, Miss Malik, you are meant to be the mother of God's children. And I take that, not with a grain of salt, but I take that with great pride. And I will carry on till the last breath I have in this world to continue to do that. And if I can reach, the corners of the earth and give back to all the children, I will do that. And that's where I see myself in the next 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very inspiring. And, I guess it helps that you're a pro public speaker as well.
Yes.
So whatever you're feeling, which is inspiring, the way that you communicate is also very powerful. Let me ask, what was your in the first competition for public speaking, what was your topic?
My topic was getting closer to God and how it can help us in our everyday life.
Wow.
And I was 6 years old, and my
No
mom
way.
wrote my speech. And I remember that competition like no other.
6 years old.
6 years old. My parents, one thing about my parents is, especially my dad, is, Ezza, you have to put yourself at the forefront. Nobody else is going to speak for you. You have to learn to speak for yourself. That is how he raised me. He's like, listen, you are going to go and talk. And so my mom wrote my first speech. And I secured first place in Scarborough.
That's awesome.
So it goes on different levels.
Yeah.
So I went on the local level. I came first place. Second level came first place as well. And my sister did as well. So both my sister and
Wow.
I, she was doing an Urdu speech. I was doing an English speech. And we both secured first place. And I remember this situation during the national time. My father and my mother and my sister and I, along with our neighbor, my parents, they are parents to all the children. So
Yeah.
our neighbor's children was like their child as well. And so we're all in the car. And right before we arrived to the destination of the national competition, we got into a car crash, a very bad car
Oh,
crash.
no.
There was a taxi driver who didn't have his hazard lights on, and he pulled
Oh,
to the
jeez.
side, and my dad was going straight, and he pulled to the side with no hazard lights, and we went straight head on. And I remember this incident as if it was yesterday, seeing my parents in so much pain, and and my dad trying to block his face, and the glass shattered everywhere. It was a very bad car accident, and I was at the back of my mind, I knew I had to go for this competition because of all the hard work that my parents and my grandparents invested into this competition. But at the same time, as a child at 6 years old, you are so worried. Am I okay? Internal damage. Are my parents? I didn't care about myself. I cared more about my parents, right? Are they okay? And I remember seeing them so worried, and
sure.
even for our neighbor's child, right? Because they obviously have the responsibility. And I told my dad's like, do you want to go for this competition? What's going to happen? And my dad said, listen, let's do it. And I said, okay, Baba, let's do it. If you're okay, I'm going to make sure that it happens. And my sister as well. And so we did. We were about 10 minutes away. We got a ride.
Wow.
We got to that competition. And I remember being shaken.
Sure. The shock kicks in.
There are thousands of people sitting in front of me, and I'm 6 years old. And I was like, okay, breathe in, breathe out. And I stood there and I talked like this as loud as I can. And I was carrying the voice of my dad,
Wow.
and I remember being 6 years old and my voice just coming out of my chest as loud as I can be and saying, listen, respected presidents and my dear sisters, this is why we need to be closer to God. And just going off with the words that my mom wrote, I was the one speaking, but it was my parents, the ones that were speaking through me. And when I secured second place, my sister secured first place.
Oh, that's exciting.
Again, it was through that motivation, the encouragement, that you never give up in life, no matter what happens. And one thing I want to applaud my parents for is always being present, in the crowd. A lot of the times my dad would get in trouble from his boss because he worked in the pharmaceutical company and there's strict timings, but he always wanted to be there at our award ceremonies.
For sure.
Even if I was an MC, my dad was there yelling in the crowd, that's my daughter. Like no matter, even if I didn't have my eyebrows done or whatever, like I didn't look good, my dad's like, that's my daughter. And so, during the time I didn't have friends growing up, in school because I had a unibrow, I had a mustache. I was bullied often, but my dad was always like, you're beautiful. No matter what, you're beautiful, Ezza. Like, just to have that confidence and someone keep telling you that throughout your entire life, it gives you that purpose to want to give back and just kind of go from there.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. You can share a compliment or give a word of encouragement to someone. It costs you nothing.
Costs you nothing.
And someone may detour their life based on something you say, a good job or way to go, or just be there and observe and recognize them, right? I'm sure with your students, I see it a lot. My kids play competitive sports, and after the game, I want to go to every single kid and say, hey, listen, you had a great game. You did this really well. And I literally try to say one thing in every game to every kid of a thing they did, not just like good game, way to go. It's like good game. You had a great run on the left-hand side there.
Yes.
When you passed the ball. And they're like, oh, yeah, I did. And that's it. Just you were acknowledged. I don't know if that makes any difference, but maybe they go into their car. They're like, someone's watching, like, oh, Arts, I did
Hiring you, right?
so I feel a little bit bad because you had such an inspiring story with such a meaningful speech. My kids also did public speaking.
I love that.
And my son, won, 3 regionals. And his speech was on napkins. So not quite as impactful. Like,
It is. That's I tell my students. It's like, what about napkins? There's a creator behind napkins. Like you can listen. It does again. Any topic is a topic. What if he creates like a multi-million-dollar business out of napkins? Right? Like you just never know.
Oh, he was brainstorming like what to do. He'd come to me and said, what should I do my topic or what are my point of views? I was like, if you can take a mundane thing and make it entertaining or interesting or just captivate people, it's something that you don't even talk about napkins.
Yeah.
And, he won his school and he finished second in York region. And, we're so proud of him. Like that's teaching you how to think creatively as opposed to, I'm not sure, playing video games or whatever else you would be doing. I guess there's some positives of video games too, but
You want to make him into a good salesperson, right? When he gets older, like it just teaches you skills, right? Like again, coming from like a family, we talk about anything and everything. Like let's say it's like talking about this cup. We are so humble in the sense where we will spend hours just talking about a cup. Like it's like even a napkin for us, it's like, oh, that's just a conversation. At least we're talking, we're connecting. We look at the benefits. So your son is, going out there, putting himself out there. That itself takes so much courage, right? And so whether it's about napkins or about, the garbage or recycling, it's at least giving him a purpose. That is what I look at as a teacher and I tell all my students. So, I created this institution to inspire young entrepreneurs because these students are very, very talented. And as you said, that you mentor a lot of these kids are told that they are not good enough, whether it's by those teachers that they have in their schools. So we are an after school program. And I actually had an incident very recently where a mother, called me up and said, listen, one of our students that we tutor, he was told at school that he will never learn that or he's not good enough. And the teacher laughed in one of our students' mom's faces. And, my husband and I, we said, listen, we're there. Listen, will you show up to the school? Like, what do we need to do? Because as a teacher, it hurts me when teachers don't understand the service that they have to these young children. Our words can break or make their future.
100%.
100%, right? Exactly. Like I still remember, and one thing they say in business is people remember how you make them feel. Like yesterday, for example, I was in cold calling. I'm doing a networking event, and I still remember which shawarma place I called and said, hey, listen, we're doing this amazing networking event to fundraise for our students. We're not interested, and just cut the phone. Not even like, hi, how are you? Customer service is at the forefront of everything, whether it's Popeyes, whether it's school, whether it's institution, any sort of business. Customer service, if you don't make people feel good, why would they want to come to you? And how do you expect yourself to succeed?
And I think the way that we're going moving forward, like my vision of business on a macro level,
Yes.
where I think we're heading is that everything's going to be about the bulk of business is going to be about convenience. So the Amazon effect of click and just deliver to your door, right? Like I get 6 notifications a day of like a box at my door, right? Alex, my whole family, whoever's ordering something. But I think that the relationship side of business and relationships in making business decisions, whether it's through selling, consultation, or just the person for example, if you have a barber that is have a great relationship with, or a massage therapist, it's not just about the service, it's about the relationship you're doing. You could be the most technical RMT. You can have the best degree and the best experience, but if you're cold or not connected,
Exactly.
people are not coming back to you.
Yeah, 100%.
So like I try to coach my kids saying, everyone matters, and they laugh at me because I talk to people everywhere I go. We're checking at a hotel and I'm talking for 10 minutes to like the concierge person or like the person bringing our bags. I'm just curious about their story. Like, who are you? Like, you're important. You're doing something. And my kid was like, oh, we gotta go. Oh, this is like, why are you outside talking for this person? I said, because they matter. Like everybody matters. And you never know really how that will manifest. And I don't really care how it manifests. I feel like I've been so blessed. I don't have to have a return on anything else I do in life. Like I've already been given return. I just want to give back. So let me ask, as an inspiring young entrepreneur,
Yes.
and actually you're teaching people how to be an entrepreneur, which I love. I think that's the future of our growth in Canada. It's going to come from the entrepreneur. I don't think it's coming from big business.
Yeah.
Because big businesses on the macro, these big, iceberg sized companies, they just go and there's all these gaps. Yeah. And there's so much opportunity in those gaps. And entrepreneurs are nimble, they're quick, they can be customized. Right. And I think that that's a great opportunity in the next 10 or 15 years is the life of the entrepreneur. So tell me, what words of wisdom as an excellent entrepreneur, what would you say to maybe a 15-year-old self or 20-year-old self?
I would say never give up. Never give up. There are a lot of people with a lot of voices, a lot of opinions on, what you should do, how you should do it, but only you can figure that out on your own. In my career in the last, I can say, decade, I've had those experiences. And, a lot of people, like I know myself personally, they gave up, right? And what sets me apart is, I get the job done. If I'm going to say it, I'm going to do it. And that's one thing about it. And if I need to be the one that carries, the bag of basketballs, like there's no sense of like, just because I'm at the top and I'm the owner doesn't mean I'm not doing the work. No. I am doing all the work, but I'm also paving the way for others as well. Right? So as an entrepreneur, you have to be ready to be all in. You can't have a store, like even Popeyes, if we're talking about, we can't own the store and not do the work. As the owners, we have to be at the forefront of our business because nobody's going to love your business as much as you do. Nobody's going to know your legacy or, what your mission or value is as much as you do. People always want to be there when you're on the top, but it takes, you to build, the bottom to get to the top.
Ladder for sure.
To get that ladder. It's like,
In an orchestra, they say that the conductor, and most conductors could literally put down their, I'm not sure what the conductor stick is.
Yeah.
Wherever they had,
Exactly.
they could put it down, walk up to an instrument and play it almost as good, if not better than anybody in the seat. Any instrument. They say a conductor has, that level of skill in music. And the same is true in business. I think any entrepreneur that's growing a business has to be willing to do every job in that business, whether it's vacuuming in the office or fixing the printer or washing the dishes or taking the garbage out or cold calling or doing accounting or whatever it is. They have to be willing to do it until you get to a point, which is a fun stage where you can start hiring people that are better than you at these jobs. But you got to be competent enough to be able to fill any seat, as needed in order to get the foundation of running a business.
and it takes humble beginnings, right? Like I started online. My husband and I had no idea how Zoom worked 5 years ago so basically at the time, as I was saying, the Popeye sandwich came out, right? And I had a mother approach me saying, listen, Ezza, we know how amazing you are with academics and the way you teach. I make it very engaging, gamified learning. Like I love to make learning fun. So when the kids come to me and say, Miss Malik, like school's boring, I'm like, challenge accepted. Like I will change your perception on the school because I love school and I love making school a safe place for kids. And if it's math, I turn math like lessons into ways that kids are like, wait, you need to realize I've been learning a lesson on like data management, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I want it to be. Like I want to, and a lot of times the kids ask me, how am I going to use this in my life? It's not like I'm never going to have to use algebra in my life. And I'm like, yes, you will, like this so and so. So I designate and create lessons in a way where the children are taking ownership. Sometimes they're the ones teaching me the lessons. So they're learning the skills. And that itself is a business as well, right? Like I give, my employees or whoever I have on hand, like, complete ownership, like teach me. And that's one thing as well. I go to people that I know are better than me in some areas of skills and I learn it myself. So whether it's learning Canva, I operate an entire institution by myself right now with the support of my husband, who's the investor. But imagine doing like his work of like 10 people. That's all me. Like right now, I did like 3 meetings in terms of connections, collaborations, talk to the Raptors, like working with all these organizations. Aside, like it's all me. And I do the marketing, social media marketing. How did I get 100,000 views? It's all me, right? And then so one day I will delegate. Like when I need to, I will. But you got to.
At least you sat in the chair.
Exactly. I sat in every single chair. We will ask, oh, how many teachers do you have? I'm like, right now it's just myself and I have like 1 or 2 part-time, but you know what I mean? It's just starting off and kind of going from there.
That's a challenge, I'll tell you. I mean, I felt replicating myself in my business is always a challenge.
It's a challenge,
No, and then I came to the idea, I'm like, I don't need to replicate me. I need to replicate that the task is done.
Exactly.
And, I have a really hard time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I have a hard time letting things go because, I set a standard of what I want to see in terms of, either the client experience or the way a document should look. Like, I'm fanatical. Like, my team laughs at me because when they hand me a paper, I go like this and they say, you mean money? I go, no, the texture of the paper. I go, I obsess about like the weight of the paper that we have and the consistency of the font, all these things that maybe somebody else doesn't care about. Maybe I shouldn't care about it, but I don't know what in my formula got me into the seat that I'm in right now. I don't know what made me who I am. I'm scared to start removing things, right? Because I don't know what part I can let go that is irrelevant or meaningless. So, as you're growing your business and you find another educator that's, just as passionate, that's just as connected with their student, just as inspiring, that's when you can start creating leverage and start blowing things. And you say, well, I have a social media manager, or I've got a PR specialist, or I've got someone who looks after accounting. Those are types of things. And I know that you're in a lot of networking groups, which is really cool too.
Yeah.
And I think that that's inspiring because that means that your ability to connect it to learn isn't within just like 4 walls. You're like, it's all everywhere. And what I love about you, and actually the way that we were connected was through a mutual friend, and, you had inspired her through some of the things that you were doing. And, when Michelle had said, Ezza's got to come onto the show. She's a bright light with a, huge future in front of her. I said, that's really cool that you're learning and growing just with no expectation of return.
Yeah. And I think that's what it's all about. And
First of all, thank you so much. I appreciate that. As you ran now, it's an honor to even as I was learning your story and your legacy and you know what you have been doing. I hope one day I want to be able to interview you. Oh, yes, so you're I'm just soaking it all in. Thank you so much. Like you're inspiring me. Inspiring me in so many ways as I'm sitting here in front of you and just listening to you. So I'm just soaking in what you just said. Just again, it's all referral. When people see the work that you are doing. Like I had someone message me yesterday and say, "Hey, listen, Isa, you need to be part of this project. They're doing a new initiative for children in need in marginalized communities. You need to be there. They're doing something in shelter homes. It's as if I never have to put myself out there in a sense where now it's people are just automatic.
Your reputation. Yeah, your
It's
reputation.
your reputation. It's what you built. So that is my message to all entrepreneurs. Make yourself so credible that the opportunities will start walking to you. And when they say make your network your net worth, sometimes you do have to go and take this extra mile and make those connections, right? You have to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your bed or wherever you need to go and, make that, a lot of times what I've realized, a lot of people keep saying to me is, no, that's too far. This is, in a sense, where
Reasons I can't.
reasons they can't. But me and my husband are the people like, no, we're there. Like you tell us we're there and we're hustlers. At the forefront, I tell everybody Miss Malik is a hustler. Like I will do anything to give these kids a better chance at life. So if I need to drive all the way to Hamilton, I will do that and deliver a speech because their voices need to be heard. I am inspiring those young kids who are often told that they can't, they shouldn't, or they are unable to, like whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I have a responsibility to those kids, right? And when you work with them and when they tell you that it's not like you are helping us in so many ways, it changes you. One thing that I realized when people ask about business, like how they grow, one thing that my husband and I do and when our parents taught us is that a percentage of our income always gets donated to a charity.
Amazing.
Right? So every check that we get, every amount of, even if it's like $10 or, let's say $5, they go to charity, 10% of that, And I exactly. So my advice to all the entrepreneurs is the more that you give, and of course, you never give in a way where you're expecting, but you're giving in a way where you are making a difference in the lives of those who often need it more than us. Right? Like you said as well, we are so blessed by the grace of God to have what we have. The water, the table, the clothes, everything.
Neil here talking to each other is a blessing. And it's like, it's so easy to forget about that. How many other parts of the world could we not just sit here and talk? Like, it's wild how lucky we are. We follow that same mindset. I call it a life hack, and it's not a hack. I believe it's a purpose. Is every dollar that comes in, the first monies that come into my company, every single check I've ever earned, first monies go to charity.
Yeah.
Right. And in most cases, the first monies go to Sick Kids Hospital. But through COVID, we built a school in Uganda. We built an orphanage in Uganda, and it's like, to me, the idea behind that, someone that was really inspiring in my life had asked for some help for that. He was building this the school with Any Kind Heart Foundation. And I'm like, I have no connection to Africa directly. I have no connection to Uganda. These people are never going to buy a house. But I'm like, that's the reason why. That's pure giving. If you're giving to have your name somewhere that you get recognition, I'm like, that's not where you're really giving. I think giving's got to come from the heart. And it's so crazy the way the universe works. When you put others first, like, it just comes back. I have this idea I share with my kids. I said, water flowing into an area that stops becomes a pond. Pond is toxic. Nothing moves in the pond. But if you poke a hole at the other end, it becomes a river. And a stream is so clean that you can drink the water right from your hands. So that's a lesson from God that holding the blessings is death. And letting the blessings pass through, that's pure life.
Yeah.
That's pure life. And that's why I think the more you can give, it's funny how the more you can give, the more blessings you receive. And you're like, I don't want these blessings, I want to give them. And then you give blessings or you try to support others and you get more support. It's just so crazy the way that it works. And that's been my own experience. I know some people have hard times and it's really hard to say to somebody, hey, you should give more. But I'm like, that's the hack that I figured.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think the ones that do give, the ones that always have God at the forefront and family above all, they succeed. There's nothing that can stop you there at all. Like I say that to every single entrepreneur out there. Listen, when you are starting with a purpose of giving back to the community, when you are creating better opportunities for those around you, automatically that creates better opportunities for yourself. And one of the reasons why my husband and I started this institution again was to support the marginalized youth. I work with kids who have suffered through gun violence, have lost parents from gun violence as well.
And even you, here's the thing, growing up, you told me that in your high school, like there's kids that didn't make it through high school.
Exactly. And the high school dropout rate is really intense. So for those that went to Cedarbury, you guys know the reputation that we had, the struggles that we had to go through. But again, we made it out and we had to help others. We had to give back. That's one of the reasons why I chose to become a teacher. I chose to become a teacher to get those kids a better opportunity and realize that the schools are home, streets are not where we should be. We should be learning, and we can do better in this lifetime when we're all together, right? Okay. And that's one of the reasons why our parents immigrated. Like, I think a lot of times the kids forget about the sacrifices that their parents had made to get them here. My parents wrapped up everything to come here, and I want to honor every single day that I live and honor my parents, because it's their legacy in a sense, where like, imagine leaving today. If I had to get up and, leave my life, leave my friends, leave my family for the security of, my next generation, I can only imagine how hard that was for them. Right? So if I'm here, my parents are working so hard, 2 to 3 jobs to, make sure that we have a good life. The least I could do is do the same for them. When I was 16 years old and I got my first job, and I remember handing my parents my first paycheck. And, the relief, the sigh of relief. Obviously, no parent wants money from their kids. And I know, my parents never asked for it. But I wanted to do that for them. Being the eldest child in our culture, they say only the sons can provide. But I'd always challenge that. I said, listen, why can't a daughter provide? Baba, this is for you. I am that son, Baba. My dad is my life. Everyone knows that. My Baba, Baba, if you're watching this, I love you, me, Baba.
That's it. We should bring him on the show.
You should. Baba's a legend.
Sounds like an inspiring guy.
He is. He's a legend. If anyone knows him in Scarborough, he's an OG all around the world as well. So, no, I'm here today because of him and my mom. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. My dad, before I came on the show right now, I was telling right now, Baba, I'm going for the bar. He was like, okay, good luck, Beta. Like, make sure you do this.
How fun would it have been if we would have had him here somewhere in the background?
He's a way harder. He would have been viral. Like, I'm telling you, next time I'll get my dad. Like,
You bring your dad after my dad. We'll have a
Oh my God! Listen, I went to Aurelia. My dad recently opened a restaurant venture there that I'm supporting him with.
That's exciting. What's it called?
It's called Cajun. So he franchised
In Aurelia.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's called Cajun. So he's a franchisee, right? Oh, one more thing that I want to add: that Zalik Academy is going to be franchising out, and we're going to take over the world. So that's what me and my husband are working on right now.
Now, and when do you think that'll happen? What's the timeline?
We are ready. We are ready to franchise out. We're just putting the word out there now.
Wow.
So we are currently working with students online in Bradford, Mississauga, all different areas. But if we can find partners and kind of grow from there, that's our next step, touching the world, like reaching every corner and supporting those kids as much as we can with young entrepreneurs. So I developed my own curriculum, my pedagogy. And so, my husband and I are teaming up together with his expertise and mine. We're going to kill it.
We're going to bring you on to the show sometime in the future. Maybe if you want us to get the franchise agreements inked on Blali.
Let's do
it.
it.
You back on. And thank you so much for being on the show and for making your message inspiring. I think you've left the opportunity. If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to connect?
They can connect with us on Instagram. That's where we're most prominent. But again, you can also contact us via website, which is on zalikacademy.com as well.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. And for everyone that's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you don't have to stop watching. Another videos coming your way.
Woo! Let's go. Make them viral, guys.
Let's go. Let's hit that like button, smash the subscribe, and comment down below if there was something inspiring in this video that you felt touched you. And of course, if you have any idea of guests or topics you'd like to see moving forward, for sure we'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching. Make it an awesome day. Swoop.